Join as you're comfortable. Shabbat Shalom. I'm Lee Crow, a member of the Ritual Committee here at Temple Shalom. Very pleased to see all of you here for our Friday Night Lights. It'll be a similar format to last month with just a few prayers and blessings, communal prayers at the end with our wonderful speaker, Lynn, in the middle. And since we are a small congregation, I would love if we could go around and introduce ourselves, especially my fellow committee members, Rega and Matt. So if you wouldn't mind starting.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Aviad Fuchs. Relatively new to this community, I guess. Just moved here last year. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Milan. We just got back from Florida.
Good Sabbath. Linda, hello.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, I'm Natalie. These are my kids that came along today. Nadine and Josie and Zaylee.
Hi, I am Regis, and I've been in the community for a little more than a year. And
Shabbat Shalom, I'm Kurt, and yes.
Hi, I'm Lynn. Neighbor in the neighborhood, a couple blocks away.
all right, I'm neighbor.
We'll continue with Love Prepare Me, the sanctuary song. It's on the reverse of the tall, long sheet that you have. Frankie has done this before, and she sometimes supplements with a little bit of Hebrew. We'll be doing Hine Mato, so we'll prepare our sanctuary with love, and then we'll gather together the words of Hine Mato on there with the translation to follow along. Prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Same thing. God prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, We continue welcoming in Shabbat with the candle lighting blessing, which can be found in your red folder on page 14. Yes, 14, right at the back. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת. Last month I shared some insights on Shalom Aleichem and where that comes from and Talmudic teaching. So we'll carry some of that spirit into the song this month. And remember that we are welcoming those angels with us and wanting them to come back next week for Shabbat as well. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Oachem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Welcome Rega to the pulpit to provide a Shabbat meditation for us.
We are here together as one people, one community. We've joined to share in this treasured moment together as we transition from the hectic demands of life and daily routines. We are invited to leave the week behind, let go of what has been, let go of what will be, and enter a place of stillness, a sacred space and time. As the sun begins to set, breathe in the glow of the sunset and pause. Breathe out the stresses of the week. Breathe in the calm of nightfall and pause. Breathe out and feel a sense of release. Breathe in the radiance of the moon and the stars and pause. Breathe out all thoughts of doing. And become one with this present moment. Feel the warmth of relaxation wash over you. Breathe in the radiant light and pause. Feel your mind become open and unfettered. Breathe out and feel your soul become freed to soar to new heights. Breathe in the calm and pause. Feel yourself surrender. Breathe out everything and focus only on now. Feel your body, mind, and soul become whole and at peace. Now we are finally ready to graciously accept this present from our loving Creator, to embrace God's gift of rest and rejuvenation, to turn our complete attention towards Shabbat, to savor all that Shabbat provides, and become enveloped by holiness. As we breathe in and out once more, we pause and welcome in the Shabbat bride.
We turn to a song that actually refers to our Shabbat bride, Chad Odi, Come My Beloved. And a note of choreography, we do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and this can be found in your prayer book on page 152. You may need one more. On the 9th verse, Bo'i V'Shalom, we rise together to greet that Sabbath bride, our queen, by turning to the doors at the back at the beginning of the verse and turning forwards at the end so that we feel Shabbat symbolically has come into our midst. So again, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, Chad Odi. Oh, even though I tear missing cloud, that's all
I was asked to introduce our speaker this evening. Lynn Buskey is an organizer with JONA, which stands for Joining Our Neighbors Advancing Hope. She's been with the organization for 6 years now. The organization aims to connect diverse groups throughout the region and include them without regard for the social distinctions that so often divide. In JONA's 2023-24 yearbook, Lynn said she believes the organization represents the belief collaboration is possible despite our differences. A native of Stanley, I'm so used to putting Iowa at the end of things, and you'd think after 4 years I'd know better. A native of Stanley, Lynn attended Luther College in Decorah, Iowa. There it is. Her path since graduation took her to Taiwan and Seattle before she returned to this region in 2007. Lynn's an active spokesperson for the group, giving interviews to local media and serving as a point of contact for those hoping to learn more about what JONA does, just like we are tonight. She lives in Eau Claire's East Side Hill District with her husband, 3 children, a dog, and a tortoise. So please welcome Lynn Buskey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I've been in the building before, as I live in the neighborhood, and I've been here for a few things, but it's always nice to be welcomed back. Thanks for that introduction. I feel like that was like the first part of my talk was talking about who I was, and now you have like my whole life story. So that's great. I majored in philosophy because I'm a student of spirituality my whole life, and I think that's the most fascinating part of my job is getting to connect with different faith traditions and different people with different beliefs, and I just find that fascinating. But enough about me, because I'm here to talk about JONA. And JONA is this giant thing, so I could end up taking a lot of time, but I want to have some interaction from you throughout to see where you'd like some of the conversation to go. And I want to start a little bit by getting kind of a taste of what you already do know, and that will also help direct me. So my first question is, how many of you have heard of the organization before tonight? Okay, that's helpful. How many of you know that Temple is a member of JONA? Same, okay. So the 3 of you who keep raising your hand, could any of you, in your own words, describe even a little bit what JONA does? Or are you not quite that familiar?
It has task forces to address issues, inequities, or just community needs. And there's like an overarching organization, but each of the task forces focus in on one of those critical areas.
That was well done. Nice. So yeah, I mean that's pretty good. I'll just kind of start with the whole thing. Because we are collaborative and inclusive intentionally, and We do grassroots organizing, which is very organic in nature. We really can be anything, but we do have some guidance to help form and shape what we do. One of those things is social injustices, which is another question I want to pose to you of how would you define what a social injustice is?
It could be an economic, or, injustice. For example, you would need an address to get a job, but if you're homeless, then you don't have the address, but then they tell you to get a job, and so it becomes this catch-22, and there's that, economic inequity right there.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add anything? It's one of those big words that I think people understand differently. I don't like to assume people know what I mean when I say we work to address social injustices. Any other thoughts? That's okay. So I would personally define it similarly in that those who are struggling the most in the community, working with them and beside them to understand what's playing a role in their struggle and how can the community provide support in a way that might prevent those problems, those struggles from occurring in the first place. So in that regard, we talk about two kinds of work to support populations who are struggling. There's either charity work or there's justice work. And charity is a very needed service that a lot of agencies provide that direct, immediate, I'm struggling right now and I can't make it to the next day without some support, that kind of work. Justice work is a little more what we call upstream, where we're finding out why those struggles are happening and working together to try and prevent those from happening, if that makes sense. So that's our overarching goal. And we come to that work through our values. Everything we do, we want to be value-led so that it's about the greater community and not just one person or one person's belief or decision on what they think is right for everybody else. That it's not about political beliefs or anything like that. It's about values. So I brought a few of these. These are our yearbook, and they give it's our annual financial report as well as a discussion on how we're structured and all the work that we're doing. We make one of these every year, so I'll be around at the end to pass those out to you. But in here, it lists our values right at the beginning. The 4 values. 1, 2. 4 values we organize around. The first one is radical inclusivity. We believe that the reason that some folks are struggling is because they are cast aside in the community, and we want to welcome all people together as humans and members. We believe in the infinite dignity and worth of every human life, and the ethic of shared abundance, and the intentional inclusion of all persons, especially people who have traditionally lived at the margins. Our second value is love, opposition to all forms of oppression and inequity, and trust that in the triumphs of love and hope over cynicism, hate, and fear. Our third value is reconciliation, this idea that we can't move forward as a community if we haven't repaired the harms that have been done to people. And restoring people and communities into what we call right relationship with each other. The fourth value of just living for the future, not just for our children, but for our planet, and just realizing that the seeds that we plant today impact those who come after us, and to consider that in the work. So that's the philosophical parts of the work. The way it happens, the idea is that there are things in the community that people passionately disagree with, and they want to see something change for the betterment of all. And Jonah is a place where people can come together and find people who share that passion and work collaboratively on that issue. And we intentionally invite people who have been affected by the issue, people who work in the issue, people who just really, really care, for no matter what reason they came to really believe passionately about that, as well as people who have the ability to make change on that issue and bring them all together and have them talk about it. And that's just really grassroots. It really looks like anything. I'm the only paid staff person, permanent paid staff person anyway. And everything else is done by volunteers, and we work hard to build intentional relationships with everyone who's a part of Jonah to help them find what's the one place or maybe the two places that they're really passionate about and where they have skills so that they are fulfilled as they're doing that work, rather than feeling burdened or drained or overextended. But they're really clear about why it matters to them, and that just fuels. I'm sure you've all done some sort of volunteer work in some capacity, and when you do volunteer work that you feel like you have to, compared to the ones you're really excited about, it changes how you approach it. And if we're doing work for the betterment of the community, we want everyone who's doing the work to be in a really excited, clear, energetic space, if that makes sense. And that's sometimes a hard part for a lot of people is they know they want to do something good, but they don't know where to start or what they really care about. So I will often sit down with them and we'll talk it through. Because of that, and because of the seriousness of the issues that we work on and the pain that people who've struggled have felt, it's really important to us that relationship is key, and collaboration, because collaboration is so important to us. Relationship is our fundamental tool. Really going off my outline here, but we have some trainings that I'll talk about later that speak to that. But just know that real relationship component, being willing to get to know each other, be curious about someone's opinions that might be different than yours, and being able to also voice what you're really, what you have to bring. We believe that everyone has something really important to contribute, and we try to look at everyone that way. And by getting to know people in a real relationship, it's easier to see that and easier to work together. If you've ever had first day on a new job, how difficult it is to work together if you don't know each other. So we're trying to get to know each other first before we try to tackle such important issues. So the way we address issues is when an issue is relevant to the community locally, and there's people who care about it, and someone willing to lead and organize a group of people and do the work on it, then a group forms. If any one of those pieces aren't there, then it doesn't happen. If we don't have a leader, if we don't have people wanting to work on it, if it's not something people care about, then it doesn't occur. Let's see here. A little bit about our structure. So, also in the book you can't see. We are part of a national network called the Camellia Foundation, where we get our leadership training and our organizing model from. And we are part of a statewide network. Our parent organization is called Wisdom, and there are 11 other affiliates around the state like Jonah. And we have, through that, we have not only support in the work that we want to do, we have examples of people who've gone before us. We have connections to many different kinds of people and faith traditions, and we have support in a lot of different ways. And just more people power. We want to really do something in the community. And our ultimate goal then through all of that is to shift the way people talk about issues and the way people talk about certain populations through collaboration and connecting and building relationships, through empowering people in the communities that everyone deserves a voice, that everyone has something to contribute, everyone can be a leader, and through action. We feel like values and passion are great, but if we're not putting them to use, it's almost a waste of energy. And then the structure internally, so we have myself as a staff person, we have an executive committee, which are officers on the board that make the day-to-day really crucial decisions of the organization together. And our president has always historically been an active or retired member of the clergy. And then our board is comprised of representatives from various interfaith congregations in the community. We have 17 institutional members, and some of them have multiple congregations within their membership. Menominee Area Mission Coalition, their whole coalition of 12 churches just joined. And there's a list of them in the book. The only ones not listed that have joined since last year, other than Menominee Area Mission Coalition of the Buddhist Sangha, also recently joined. And that's been growing. It's just been great to see how more and more people are interested in coming together and collaborating rather than everybody doing a little bit of a piece here and there, coming together and all sharing the work is really powerful. And then the task forces are made up of all kinds of people. It's just people who've their life has directed them to be a leader on an issue, whether they were just born as a natural leader or they came into it because of their passion and experience with an issue. The 7 task forces we have right now, 5 of them, 4.5, because one of them was kind of half around. 4.5 of them are since my time started in 6 years. And that's how much energy has been coming around social justice. Our original task forces were criminal justice reform, criminal justice reform, and immigration, and environmentalism were the 3 that were around when I got started. And then since then, we've added affordable housing, child poverty, transportation, that one's been around a long time as well. Mental health, is that 7? I wasn't counting, I think so. So I'll get into more details about what each of those task forces are doing, but they're comprised of people who work every day in the field and are tired of the patterns that they see that they don't by themselves have the ability to make a change about. There are people from congregations who are passionate, and there are people with lived experience and people from all over. Any questions so far on just the general structure and like how we work? We'll get to the issue details and then. Okay, so before I talk more about the work that we've done, both historically and presently, I wanted to talk a little bit about why we work with congregations, because people often get confused by that. And we call ourselves an interfaith, I'm blanking on the term, faith-based grassroots organizing. And we say faith, but we don't mean religion necessarily. Everyone in their own life circumstances comes to a place of their own personal faith, and whether that faith be their religion or come from their religion, or that faith come from their life's experiences, they have faith in something that determines what they have value in. And we welcome anyone who's wanting to live out their faith values in action. And we have actually the ability to have an institutional member that is not a congregation. It could be an institution or a group or an organization. And all of our task forces are open to anyone. We don't even ask if we don't care if you're religious or not. But that confuses people, and I wanted to share why we work with congregations. The biggest reason is because congregations already are these amazing spaces of community that for long periods of history know how to do community, where there's shared leadership roles, there's shared voices, there's faith in action. So that's the most obvious reason to me. Matt already mentioned the idea that being interfaith allows us to be this symbol that it's possible to collaborate even though we disagree. and to practice diversity in a very white community. Congregations also all hold these values that I mentioned. All theologies believe in love and compassion and justice. And so it's a great place to find many people who are in line with our values and wanting to do something to better the community. Marginalized individuals and people struggling in the community also often come to churches and congregations for support and resources. Yeah, and it's just a great way to connect with larger groups of people. So that's why we work with churches. And then I also brought this little brochure. I don't remember when Temple joined, Jonah. And you pay us an annual membership due. Thank you very much. But I would like to make sure that you feel you're getting something out of that as well. It's more than just a kind donation, it's a relationship. And I brought a few of these that will help articulate that a little bit. The most obvious connection is that 2 representatives from each member congregation are invited to sit on our board and help direct some of our work and add their faith voice to the work that we're doing. And then in return, we are able to come give presentations to congregations on any of the work we're doing. I know the housing folks are coming soon. And we also can provide leadership training to congregations at no cost. Those are all listed in here. Leadership in congregations is a challenge, but it's a very important space for growing leaders. And so our tools can help congregations strengthen and grow their leadership and how they function together. And we're happy to do that. Additionally, I'm sure Temple has its own values and its own passionate issues that you're passionate about. And any work that you're doing, we would love to amplify that in the community in whatever way that means. Maybe that means adding more people to it, or maybe sharing it in the community, or providing financial support. Any of those things to help you do what you think is important for your community. So that's the goal in working with congregations, is all of those things. We currently, Mike Stoyer sits on the board as a representative for Temple. His wife Susan used to, but she needs to step down, so we're looking for a second board member. Elise says she's got it. Okay, good. I didn't want to assume. We haven't talked yet. So that's good.
It's on my calendar.
Yeah, and we'll help figure out how to keep Temple connected to the work that's happening. The question is, why is Jonah needed in the community? If you're hearing what we're talking about, all the different pieces I've talked about, what is your sense, if you have one at this point, of why Jonah might be needed in the community?
Well, I know that Jonah has a tenant landlord resource center, because if you've never been in that situation where you're like, I don't know what to do, my landlord is terrible, or vice versa, you at least know people who are like, I've got this story for you, you're not gonna believe it, which would imply that that's a very common problem, but you don't have any one place for a solution.
Right, thank you. That's a great articulation. That bridge, in my opinion, is our fundamental need for existing, is the ability to help people who make decisions about issues they have never been affected by connect with the voices of people who have struggled. And those are 2 very different languages. And so being there to help them connect and talk through challenges is pretty powerful, and yes, needed. Any other ideas on why Jonah's work might be needed?
Well, in the advocacy space, like you were saying, with different congregations having similar values and all doing wonderful things, there's power in coming together and seeing it as a shared value for the community at large.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's learning that happens from each other, which is great. And there's, yes, this energy and validation that we're on some sort of path that seems good when others are trying to do similar. And just more capacity, yeah, to do it well. I remember when I first started, no one who was interviewing me could really explain to me what an organizer was, or why it was needed. And I think it's because it's really counter to where society functions. So like to have like this need of an entity to organize the unorganized, to organize people, like take the chaos and kind of put the pieces together, you know, and bring people together, talk about, okay, settle down, why don't we all, you come over here, you come over here, let's talk about it. I have a lot of personal experience in child rearing, and organizing is a lot like child rearing, in that you're hurting people like you would hurt toddlers a little bit sometimes, because these are hard things to talk about. There are issues that we sometimes don't want to talk about. Anyway, I'll get off of that. So I want to talk about our current work, and I'm going to do it through a specific issue that we've been working on that will also demonstrate some of the need. And then I'm going to open up to questions on any of the other, because I can't really go in depth on all of the task forces, so we'll be here all night. So after I don't know if I can ever say after the pandemic, because I mean, we're not technically in a pandemic anymore, but anyway, around 2021, the world started talking about mental health more than it ever had before. I grew up struggling with anxiety, PTSD, and those types of mental health challenges, and I was always eager to do something around mental health in Jonah when I started, because it's very much, I believe, at the root core of a lot of other issues in the community that we work in. But there was no community desire to talk about it. There was no one to lead the work. So after around 2021, people wanted to start talking about it. So we formed a mental health task force. And as we connected with people who were struggling, the largest pattern we heard was there was a gap of feeling supported. One, because of self and community stigma, and two, because it's a long time in between clinical appointments. And if you're struggling, family members who haven't struggled don't know how to be there. And if you're struggling, you may not know how to ask for help or feel like you can't. And there's just no one to go to, especially if you don't have a lot of money. So we talked about ways we could do that, and we started learning about certified peer support specialists, which is available to low-income people for free, and is also a service people can pay for. It's people who have struggled with mental health challenges who will literally be available whenever you need someone. But then we also started thinking, wouldn't it be great if our whole community was a little bit more supportive of each other in this way? And we started, after getting inspiration from some college campuses who had done it, the Green Bandana Project, which is a project where people sign a pledge that says, if I'm struggling, I promise to ask for help. And if someone needs support, I'm willing to sit there with them and do my best to support them. And then they wear a bandana everywhere they go. And that visibility immediately reduces stigma for people. But the larger goal with it is to create this community of relationship and support. And it's been going for a year. It's in 3 counties. We've distributed about 1,500 bandanas. It's a slow movement to get people aware of it, and it's not really going to work until more and more people know what it is and are wearing it, so when they see one, they know. But the other piece that's missing is this cultural thing of, I can't ask a stranger for help, or if a stranger comes up to me, I have no idea what to say. So we designed a 30-minute training where we're helping people practice how to do that, to just be in a room full of strangers and walk around and say, hi, my name is Lynn. And then we practice, hi, my name is Lynn. I see you're wearing a bandana. I could use someone to talk to. And then we practice basic listening skills and help people understand that someone who's struggling isn't broken, doesn't need you to fix them. And someone struggling doesn't need your advice. They have all the wisdom inside themselves. And we did our first practice training yesterday, actually, and it was amazing. And we're giving a whole bunch this month all over the place. And why that's exciting to me is because it's seeing the actual practice of building community through a discipline of practice and directly supporting each other. And getting everybody involved in a way, like all these people who are taking bandanas are showing a little element of leadership, you know. Some other successes we've had over the years. I don't know how I'm doing on time. I could just babble all day, so feel free to be like, that's enough. So we formed in 2007. We've been doing this for 16, almost 17 years. Early on, we were organized around criminal justice work. Our leader in Milwaukee came up and said, I need some help, and you have a prison and you have a jail over here. And through our initial work, we increased funding, state funding toward treatment alternatives to prison, and expanded our treatment courts. That's an early one. We've done a lot with immigration and just welcoming those who are in the community, trying to navigate the community. One of those ways being providing a Mexican mobile consulate that comes every year to help folks from Mexico who need paperwork done or any sort of legal support in any way. I don't know everything they do, but they've been coming for 12 years, I believe. We've expanded conversation and facilities around affordable housing. We passed 2 pieces of legislation, both at the city and county, to end child poverty for the city and the county to commit to doing what they can to address child poverty in the area. We worked on a large grant with a group of folks who were directly impacted by incarceration on understanding how conviction histories create immediate barriers to housing. And we worked with the healthcare system, helped them understand those barriers. The Transportation Task Force has worked for years on keeping bus fares low for those who are low income or unhoused. And they worked to help design the transit center, and they worked to help with the ecological buses in the community. Lots and lots and lots of things. Yeah.
If I could,
Yes.
one of the big issues in the community now is, of course, the closure of HSHS
Yes.
and Promea. Is Jonah involved in mitigation efforts with this?
So that's a great question, and I'll do my best to answer. So there are so many questions left about what this closure means. Those who are working currently still at HSHS have questions. They're just in the buildings wandering around going, I don't know what's happening to me. And then the community itself has a lot of questions. So far, there are 2 groups that I know of that have taken initiatives around that. The chamber formed some task groups to address that. Their focus is from an economic and small business standpoint. So when I attended one of their meetings, they were talking largely about supporting workforce and things like that. I didn't yet hear the medical side. So thankfully, there's a group called the Wisconsin Emergency Healthcare something that is working to talk about some of that. And we have a group of clergy and faith leaders that meet once a month. And at marches, this Tuesday actually, they will have a representative from the chamber and a representative from this emergency healthcare group. And they're going to be talking to us about how are churches impacted by the closure and how can churches help support the community members impacted. The other thing that's really keen to us, the L.E. Phillips Libertas Treatment Center and the mental health beds there, those were a huge loss. And those are treatment beds that help support youth and adults struggling. And so that's like right in line with all of the issues we work on. So that's a long-term goal for us, is to collaborate and figure out solutions for that. And it's not us like recreating or reinventing a solution. There are solutions that already exist. And so our goal is to go out and find who's doing what and bring them together, because it's usually there's like 5 separate pieces that if those pieces were put together, it'd be like a whole solution. And that's what I know. I have a lot of questions. I want to know, Ever sent the money. I have no idea how anybody's using it. And I have deep concern for the patients who may lose their lives because of the lack of care. I would like to amplify that discussion. Our faith leaders just last week had a vigil at the library for the closure where it was prayers of lament and small group discussions for people who are impacted to just have space to talk, because there's not a lot of spaces for those types of conversations around these issues. Everybody wants to talk about how to fix it, but not necessarily support how hard it is. And so that was a really, really lovely vigil that we may duplicate. So I don't know if that's helpful, but we're trying to keep our ears out for when it's appropriate for us to jump in and do something. So any questions on, I'll run through the names of the task forces again, but any of the work that we're doing, and if you have specific issues that are important to Temple, please mention those and I can talk about them. But so affordable housing, which you will hear a lot about soon, so maybe I don't need to talk too much about that. Child poverty, environment, mental health, immigration, transportation, and criminal justice. So any of those that you want to ask specific questions on, I'd be happy to answer. Or you can read the book, it's fine.
We have a social gathering afterwards as well.
Okay, great. I mean, I would like to hear what Temple's top issues of concern are, or some mission work that you've maybe already done or would like to do. I would also like to hear what you struggle with as a congregation to keep your own energy sustainable. And yeah, I'm happy to support you in whatever way that I can. I'm gonna close with short quotes of reflection. So most of our work is done through a combination, education through data sometimes, but mostly storytelling. We feel that stories are very powerful in helping people connect to something and think about it differently. So there's a quote by Bell Hooks that says, "The heart of justice is truth-telling," and we think truth-telling means stories and data. And there's three short quotes on stories. "Tell me the facts and I'll learn. Tell me the truth and I'll believe. But tell me a story and it will live in heart forever." It's a Native American proverb. And then Brandon Sanderson, who's a science fiction writer, wrote, "The purpose of a storyteller is not to tell you how to think, but to give you questions to think upon." And Sumonk Kid said, "Stories have to be told or they die, and when they die, we can't remember who we are or why we're here." And then the last one, Martin Luther King Jr. quote, a little bit more about the data part. "Education without social action is a one-sided value because it has no true power potential. Social action without education is a weak expression of pure energy. Deeds uninformed by educated thought can take false directions." And that's why it's so important that we learn from each other. And that's what I got. Hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. I'm not sure if I can call this a tradition yet, since it's only the second time I'm doing this, but after last month with Matt's talk with us, and this month with Lynn, I wanted to offer a moment of reflection. Afterwards, we have our ONEG, our gathering, our feast of sorts, of treats, and time with each other. And I'll offer this song. It's actually on the reverse, but just for you to have space to take in everything that we heard, maybe formulate some of your questions, also to think of what Lynn is asking from us as a congregation and your experience here at Temple Shalom, that reciprocal relationship and how Jonah could really be in partnership with us. So use this time for that reflection, so at the ONEG we'll have lots of questions and discussions with her. Hametzar terapia. Anani. Hamerchayavi. Hametzar terapia. Anani. Hamerchaya. Hametzar terapia. Anani. Hametzar terapia. Anani. Hamerchaya. Adonai Liloira, Yaseh, Yaseh Li Adam. Adonai Liloira, Yaseh Li Adam. Adonai Liloira, Yaseh, Yaseh Li Adam. Adonai Liloira, Yaseh Li Adam. Hametzar terapia. Anani. Hamerchayavi. Hametzar terapia. Anani. Hamerchaya. We now turn to God for a blessing of healing. If you or someone dear to you is in need of healing, I invite you to stand now, and when I pause in the Hebrew of the prayer, to say their names aloud together. Mishaberach Abotenu v'Imotenu v'Hu Yivarech v'Yorpeh et HaCholim Beinenu. V'yishlach lahem mehira, refuah shlema, refuat hanefesh, u'refuat haguf. O God, who blessed our ancestors, bring the blessing of complete healing to all who suffer, healing of body, mind, soul, and spirit. Endow those who tend to them with gentle hands and wise hearts. Strengthen those who love them with courage and patience. Comfort all those at the end of their days with a sense of wholeness, and bless us all with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofech HaCholim. Blessed are you, Adonai, our source of healing. Generally, we use this time to pray a Mishaberach, the words I just offered. But instead, I'm actually going to offer a different prayer of healing this month. The words are El Na Refana La. They were spoken by Moses when his sister Miriam was ill as a plea to God. Please, God, heal her. They're very powerful words. So again, El Na Refana La is the Hebrew you'll need to know. And then when the English comes, it's call and response. So I'll do a bit, repeat back, and we'll pray for some healing together. El Na Refana La. That's the Hebrew. El Na Refana La Refana La. El Na Refana La Refana La. Dear God of our ancestors.
Dear God of our ancestors.
Dear God of our ancestors,
Dear God of our ancestors,
help us renew our faith.
help us renew our faith.
Grant us a perfect perfect healing.
Grant us the perfect healing.
Bring peace to all our days.
Bring peace to all our days.
El na refana la nu. El na refana la nu. Restore our strength of body.
Restore our strength of body.
Help clarify our minds.
Help clarify our minds.
Refresh our tired spirits.
Refresh our tired spirits.
Rejuvenate our light.
Rejuvenate our light.
El na refana la nu. El na refana la nu. Thank you for all these blessings throughout our days and nights.
Throughout our days and nights.
We celebrate the journey,
We celebrate the journey.
this precious gift of life.
This precious gift of life.
El na refana la nu. El na refana la nu. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey. From childhood to maturity, and youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage. A sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and our neighbors have lost, people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race, religion, and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. I ask those who are in a period of mourning, or remembering someone for their yahrzeit this Shabbat, or holding close the life of someone who has gone before you, to stand now and share their names aloud so that we may offer our comfort and prayers as a community. Our community tonight remembers Judy Cypress and Jason Saavedra. We also offer our congregation's prayers for the yahrzeits of Kenneth Ross, Fanny Cohen, Rhoda Rose Rockowitz, Jacob Moses, Harry Abramson, Sarah Moses, Charles Lotwin, Ruth Elstein Caro, Sam Borovoy, Jean Cass Cushman, and Albert Minkus. Together we draw all those named and unnamed into our hearts, and for those who are able, we rise together to praise God as we recite the Mourner's Kaddish in your prayer book on page 182. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shmei Rabbah, V'yamal Yivrach Yotev V'yamlit Malchuteh, V'chayechol Yomechol V'chayei L'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala U'bizman Karid V'yimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mavarach Le'olam U'me'almaya. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yitramam, Yitnaseh. Yitadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Shmei Kudashah, B'lechu. Leila, Mim Kol Birchata, B'shirata. Tushbachata, V'nechamata. Da'amiran, Ve'alma, Ve'imru, Amen. V'hei Shlam Arav Amin Shemaya. V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom Mimrama. V'yaseh Shalom. Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Ve'imru, Amen. You may be seated. A few announcements. Tomorrow morning at 10:30, we'll have Torah study led by Matt Milner. Coming up also in March, Purim, our celebration of the story of Esther, will be here at the synagogue on Saturday the 23rd. We'll start with Havdalah at 5:30, follow with a Megillah reading, a little bit of Hebrew, mostly English, food, music, general merriment. I think my kids requested a craft project, so I'll come up with something along those lines. We'll also have Friday night lights in April. Keep an eye on your email bulletin for those details. And of course, after this service, Oneg downstairs, we will do our blessings over wine, challah, and then enjoy some time together in fellowship. Last announcement would be for our new month, if you wouldn't mind. We're going to be on page 87. We are about to start Adar 2, the leap month. We had a whole month to the Jewish calendar. And it's tradition that on the Shabbat prior to Rosh Chodesh that we'll recite this blessing. And we are perfectly synced up that last month we did it and this month we'll do it. So if you wouldn't mind coming up.
And I'm going to do this in Hebrew and then in English. ראש חודש אדר ב' יהיה ביום ראשון, הבא לנו לטובה ועל כל ישראל לטובה, יחדשהו הקדוש ברוך הוא עלינו ועל כל עמו בית ישראל, לחיים ולשלום, לששון ושמחה, לישועה ולנחמה, ונאמר אמן. The beginning of the month of Adar Bet will be on Sunday. May its arrival bring blessings to Jews everywhere. May the Holy One bring renewal to us and the whole family of Israel. With life and peace,
Amen.
with joy and gladness,
Amen.
with salvation and consolation, to which we respond, Amen. That's
Oh,
fine?
that's perfect. Thank you.
All right. Maybe nothing else.
And I'll re-emphasize the line that Avi shared with us about being joy. We are commanded to increase joy during the month of Adar and now the months of Adar. So we were at the outset of Adar 1, Adar Aleph last month when we joined together. So your joy should just be like through the roof. You've got another month. Let's keep going. And remember, it's actually a commandment. So in the ways that we are able, considering the state of the world, to find joy in our lives and to increase it together. I would like for all of you to join together for our closing song found in your folder on page 9, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Some peace in our world, perhaps to bring more joy to those. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'avulam again. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'avulam Salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, Salam, Shalom, Salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, Salam, Shalom. Increase that joy. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'avulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu.
Ready to go, Lee?
I thought we felt like.
How are you?